very glad to tell you that, first of all, I'm joined by Stuart McNaughton, who is a health and safety consultant for Reactec.
Reactec, yes.
Now, Stuart, tell me, what is Reactec?
Reactec is originally a Napier University high-tech startup project. It's now a fully fledged company that promotes and sells continuous monitoring equipment, which when used properly will predict and prevent operatives who are at risk of contracting hand-arm vibration syndrome, and enable employers and employees themselves to take action before they contract it, rather than just discover they've been diagnosed, at which point it's too late.
Okay, so you actually have a monitoring system here, yes, don't you? And what's so different about this monitoring system?
The standard monitoring system can be used in a vehicle, or it could be used in any location with a mains power supply or a 12-volt power supply. The new system we have is like an add-on to it. It's a thing called a smart charger. And what it can do is it can collect data for a couple of weeks at a time for people who work in forestry or remote situations where they can't get back to base. So it allows people to work remotely for a couple of weeks at a time, and it allows greater flexibility for the workforce.
So I guess originally then, if people were collecting data, it was normally stored in a main hub. They would then have to go back to base every day after, yep, they finished work. That was a given.
Yes.
You weren't able to do it like you can with this.
No. Initially, originally you would have to go back to base at the end of each day and replace your HAV meter onto the base station, which is this large unit here. Okay. And that would not only collect the data, it would also recharge the base station. This little unit doesn't collect the data, but it recharges it every day for between 2 weeks and 2 months, and it will allow you to continue working without having to return to base.
And how long does a charge last on the unit?
The charge will last, if you charge it overnight, it should last between 12 and 16 hours, so you can work a long shift.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And does this connect to the actual apparatus, the machinery itself?
The little HAV meter itself is swiped out using a swipe card.
Uh-huh.
The operator will collect a flashing HAV meter.
Yep.
He will connect it to the tool that he's using. Okay. And when he pulls the trigger, we'll get the trigger to pull. While he's pulling the trigger, the HAV meter will accrue points.
Uh-huh.
You will see very, very quickly, because there's a demo version, it will go from green to amber to red. When the employee is watching a green light, he's good to work, carry on working.
Okay.
When it reaches amber, he's reached his action value, his exposure action value for vibration. Okay. He would flag that up to his line manager. And when he reaches red, he would flag up to his line manager that he's reached his maximum exposure for the day and has to stop. And if he continues to use this simple tool, 99% of people, 99% of the time, will get through their working lives without being affected by overexposure to HAVs. And all they've got to do at the end of the day is put it back. So it's very, very simple. But this little unit here, I'll take this one off. I'll take a flashing HAV meter.
Uh-huh.
I'll collect some points. And when I put it back at the end of the day, instead of putting it on my base station,
uh-huh,
I'll put it on this little smart charger. It will collect data, uh-huh, and it will ensure that you don't lose any data. But it will charge it up overnight in remote places. It's a 12-volt DC input, so it could be hardwired or put into a cigarette lighter in a vehicle, uh-huh, or charged at home. So it allows workers who are working remotely to be monitored for exposure to HAVs, rather than just those people that can get back to base. And it just offers greater flexibility.
So this is obviously just an easier, more up-to-date way of safeguarding yourself as, yes, a worker, yes, and your exposure to vibration levels.
The equipment is remarkably simple. The clever stuff happens once the data has been collected and it's removed from a little SD card and put into software, and the software then can be analysed.
And what is the breakdown of the data that it sends back?
It will send you chronologically each tool that you've attached the HAV meter to. It will tell you to the second when that trigger was pulled. It will tell you how many exposure points you've accumulated as you've pulled that trigger each time. And it will date stamp it. And you can actually, you can determine the trigger time of some of your equipment as well. You may have a fleet of equipment. Am I talking to Speedy people here? You might actually have a fleet of equipment, some of which is hardly being used, and you would be able to see that just by its trigger time as well. So it spills into other areas like asset management and maintenance.
I'm really impressed. Well, thank you very much, Stuart, for joining us, and thank you for listening to Reactec.
Cheers, thanks.